They're not great. They're above average, maybe a tick. Go get a real GM. You know, don't hire a veteran head coach because he gives you a good feeling because now he's going to embrace analytics and otherwise he's been to the Super Bowl in a bygone era. And then say, well, he'll have input. No, that tells me it's the same old thing. Go out and hire, unless you think it's good enough for the Cowboys to have an average or maybe a slightly above average GM. If that's not a good enough standard for the Dallas Cowboys, which are supposed to be one of the gold standard franchises, go hire an elite GM. Not, hey, this coach who we kind of like is now going to advise on personnel decisions too. It is the same old Cowboys. The power structure doesn't work, not to win a Super Bowl.
Let me say this. This is the thing that's kind of bothering me. I got to come to Jerry Jones' defense here. I really do, in all seriousness. Look, there is no doubting that we all have ammunition to point to Jerry Jones historically getting rid of Jimmy Johnson, Jimmy Johnson, who, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, on a different note, Jimmy Johnson is still not in the Ring of Honor for the Dallas Cowboys. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
But in the Hall of Fame.
That is
That's
that
foul.
is inexcusable.
What he did with the Cowboys.
The reason I'm bringing that up, the reason I'm bringing that up is because I don't want to hear your damn congratulations for Jimmy Johnson, which was a beautiful moment with both him and Bill Cowher getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. That was just fantastic television. I was very happy for both of them. But Jimmy Johnson should not be in the Hall of Fame before he's in the Cowboys Ring of Honor. That's just a travesty, Jerry Jones. To me, that's awful. Now, having said all of that, getting back to this issue, here's where I will come to Jerry Jones' defense. Look, we look at the Dallas Cowboys. From a roster perspective, there's nobody denying that they were stout. You had people calling them legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Damian Woody had them going to the Super Bowl. And so for me, even though you can point from an historical perspective, having a problem with Jerry Jones, in recent memory, I've said this before, Marcus, and I'll say it again. Unless someone can come to me and show me that Jerry Jones literally told Jason Garrett, Kellen Moore, and those boys how to coach. All we know is that those guys coached. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and those boys handled personnel decisions. And from a personnel perspective, I don't think anybody can look at Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and say they did a bad job. They've clearly upgraded with the coaching position in Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy's happy to be out of Green Bay from the standpoint that Mark Murphy and Ted Thompson and those boys was basically telling Aaron Rodgers to shut up and let them make the personnel decisions. Chances are they weren't willing to listen to McCarthy that much. McCarthy will be listened to in Dallas, but joint decisions will be made. There has to be somebody with the final say. We get all of that. But I'm not going to sit up there and knock Jerry Jones based on the roster unless you can tell me he's telling dudes how to coach. That's a different argument. If he ain't doing that, I don't have a problem with what I've been seeing lately.
So here's my issue. My issue is not necessarily with Jerry Jones. I agree with both of your points about the decision-making process when you talk about picking players in the NFL draft. My issue is the influence, Stephen A. and Max. That's always been my issue with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones doesn't have to say a word for coaches to feel pressure or anybody in the organization, and him being the owner and being as involved creates this environment for people that maybe puts them in a situation not to make decisions based off their own merit, but they have to think about what would Jerry think about this if I did it, because he's so close to the everyday operation. I got two things. One thing is I'm 100% agreeing with Max. Hire a GM that is 24/7 involved in roster, personnel, football decisions outside of the Jones family, and just see if it works. They have someone in the building, by the way. His name is Will McClay. He's the vice president of player personnel, who's ingrained every day in football, who coached the Dallas Desperados, which was their arena league team, and had to make roster decisions. So he knows what it's like to actually be on the field and coach as well. This is always the issue. You can always find the great things to say about Jerry Jones and what he's done for the Dallas Cowboys. There is a long laundry list of successes. The one success, and the one both of you kill me about all the time, is 25 years without sniffing the Super Bowl. 25 years. So what's been the common denominator? Jerry Jones. Like, we can go through all of these years, and we can talk about, well, he kept Jason Garrett for too long. And these things transpired. And the way they drafted, the number one common denominator between the Dallas Cowboys and a potential Super Bowl bid has been the fact that Jerry Jones has been the owner and GM for all of those years.
Yeah,
That's been
let
the
me
issue.
let me give you an example of a Jerry, an owner named Jerry, who was involved, who was a media darling also, but knew how to do it. The greatest of all time, the late, great Dr. Jerry Buss, the owner of the Lakers, who, by the way, in the deal to buy the Lakers, part of what he put on the table is the Chrysler Building. Like, he traded the Chrysler Building in cash to buy the Lakers. This dude, talk about gangsters, this dude. And I interviewed him once toward the end of his life, and I asked him about, I noticed sometimes he'd show up to the Lakers practice facility every now and then. And I said, when you show up, what's that about? Because George Steinbrenner would show up for the Yankees when things weren't going right. He had to scare him into shape. And I said, how do you do it? Like, what is he doing? He goes, I just wanted to know if they needed anything from me. Do they need anything? When Jerry Jones shows up, it's to do a radio show, to hold a press conference, it's distracting. It is not productive.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.